Hey, friends, and welcome back to Taking Up Space with Jordan. I'm your host, Jordan, and I am in a very cheerful, good mood because as this episode is coming out, or as this will go live, I will actually be in Hawaii. I will be soaking up the sunshine, and I am so excited to be going. And I have like crazy eyes if you're watching this on YouTube, but I have not been on a vacation, like a real true vacation where you're like gone for like a couple of weeks. I've not been on one of those in probably 3 years. So very excited to go be in Hawaii, get to relax, get to be a part of the Hawaiian culture for a little bit. Very excited. And because maybe it's the spring air, or maybe it's the sun that I've been soaking up here in the Pacific Northwest, but something about this season is making me crave lightness in a very, like, in every corner of my life, every aspect of my life. I want ease, I want lightness, I want all of that. And it's wild being back in Hawaii, or thinking about being back in Hawaii, because the last time I was there, I was actually married. And guess what's missing now? And this trip, well, it just feels a little different because while I was packing, I found myself being really intentional. And not just about what I was physically bringing, but also about what I was leaving behind. I wasn't carrying the weight of a bad relationship or the baggage of a life that no longer fit me anymore. And that really got me thinking that there's so much beauty in just releasing, in letting go. I've had to let go of so much from my previous life, a house, a partner, even the dream that I thought I was supposed to be chasing. And what I learned is that in that letting go, I made space for deeper friendships, for emotions I used to bury, for better memories, new habits, and a life that actually feels like mine. Because releasing, it isn't about losing something. It's about choosing. It's about choosing freedom, choosing peace, choosing yourself. So in today's episode, we're talking about just that, releasing, releasing the expectations, releasing the guilt, releasing whatever's been weighing you down so that you can finally step into the life that you've been dreaming of. But before we dive in, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. It continues to be the number one way to show your support. And there might be something new and exciting coming soon, but you'll have to stay tuned and subscribe to find out. Now that the housekeeping is out of the way, let's dive into it. I want to ask you a question. Have you ever just felt like your life is cluttered? And I don't mean the Goodwill bags that have been sitting in the hallway for 3 weeks. No, I'm talking about emotional clutter. It's that feeling where everything you do feels slightly off or disconnected, where your dreams feel far away, or even worse, like they don't even belong to you anymore. You're carrying guilt, resentment, pressure to keep up, but you're not even sure like what keeping up means anymore. You look in the mirror and you feel meh, no identity, no spark, no you. That's emotional clutter. It's when everything feels like a priority, but nothing feels important enough to start on. When you're holding on to so much mentally, emotionally, energetically, you become weighed down and unfocused. Because if your arms are full, how can you possibly open them up to receive what you actually want? We can't call in the life that we want in our arm if our arms are full of what we no longer need. So let's pause here for a second. Is there something you're holding on to that doesn't even feel like yours anymore? Is there something, a routine, a role, a belief that once served you but no longer feels like it's you, and now it's quietly dragging you down? Because I've lived this. I used to dream about having the big house, the kind of home where all my friends and family would gather and celebrate life together. And I had that, technically. I hosted the parties, I played the role, but deep down, I felt so disconnected. I was so hyper aware of the illusion I was keeping up, terrified that everyone could see through it, that they knew it wasn't real, that I wasn't happy. I still want to be that place for my friends and my family, the hot spot to celebrate anything new, from a new job to a new baby to a new marriage to a new TV. But I've released the part of me that is obsessed over every streamer, every banner, every perfect photo op. because I'm no longer trying to be the perfect wife or the perfect host or the perfect friend. Because I've learned that there's so much beauty in my imperfections because they make me me. So if my dress doesn't fit quite right, that's fine. I'm not going to let that derail my joy because I've let go of that old belief that everything has to be perfect in order for it to be good. And that's just one form of emotional clutter, limiting beliefs. And they're going to come up a lot in this episode because limiting beliefs are those ideas that we hold about ourselves, others, or the world that keep us small or keep us contained into these little tiny boxes. They're usually rooted in fear from childhood wounds, painful experience, or even a comment some jackass said that one time that just stuck. They're sneaky. They often live under the surface of our routines and our reactions, and they quietly just guide us through life. And that's why it's so important to check in with ourselves. Because sometimes you don't even realize the beliefs that you're carrying. And you don't realize that those beliefs are actually not your own. They are somebody else's that you have adopted. And transparently, I have recently uncovered a new one. I think it's great to practice transparency on this podcast to let you know that I am a real human being. I'm not somebody that has it all figured out. And I still have emotional wounds that I'm recovering from and that I'm uncovering. And so, yeah, I will probably do a full episode on it actually pretty soon. But I thought I'd share it with you here now. And I realized that one of the reasons that I procrastinate on certain goals or hesitate to put myself out there, especially when it comes to dating, for instance, is because deep down, I want to be chosen. Not just matched or liked, but chosen, wanted. And it hit me really hard while I was at the park playing with my dogs. And I took a break, and the dogs were just sitting there casually doing what they were doing, bellies up, living their best life, completely unaware that their mom was about to have an emotional meltdown internally. But that's neither here nor there. But anyways, there was a few kids playing. The park was like near a school, so I think they had gone over there to like kickball or something like that. Anyways, something required for teams to be picked. And there's one little boy left at the end, the last one standing. And the look on his face, that moment of not being picked, I recognized it. Because when you're the last one standing, you're not chosen. You were just automatically sorted to the team that has the least amount of players. I recognize that face because I've worn that face. I've worn that face as a child. I've worn that face in my teenage years. And I've worn that face as a grown woman. That sting of realizing that you weren't anyone's first choice. You were just the last one left. And I share that because I don't want anybody to feel bad for me. That's not why I share this. But because I want you to know that we are constantly uncovering things, constantly discovering the hidden beliefs and emotions that are weighing us down. So if this resonates with you, if you're realizing that you might be holding on to a belief or identity that doesn't feel like yours anymore, be gentle with yourself. Releasing is rarely easy, especially when it's tied to something that once gave us comfort. Healing isn't a one and done process. It's layered, it's messy. But what does happen, what's beautiful, is that over time, it does become lighter. You start to recognize the clutter faster. You know how to gently clear it away, and you create more and more space for the life that you actually want. So for me, when I was having this moment of realization, instead of letting it weigh me down for the rest of the day, what I did is I let myself feel all of my emotions in that moment. I let myself feel sad for the little boy. I let myself feel disappointed that I'd not found someone to have made me feel chosen, specifically in a romantic way. I was disappointed in previous partners. I just allowed myself to feel my own emotions without any guilt, without any need to censor them. And in the past, I wouldn't have done that. In the past, I would have swallowed it down. I would have grabbed the dogs and I would have been really upset because I was out in public and I didn't want to have all this big emotional meltdown. But in reality, it wasn't a big emotional meltdown. Giving myself the 5 to 10 minutes to just feel all of those emotions, to understand that this is a new thing that I'm now going to have to unpack and give myself time and give myself grace to learn from and talk about with my own therapist, that was great. That was a great opportunity for me to check in with myself and discover more. And that's what's great about learning and growing, is that you can figure out how to respond when these moments come up without it feeling like it's going to weigh you down or ruin your day. And here's something, though, I do want to break down and do want to be clear about. When we start to recognize our emotional clutter and feel this pull to let go, we often expect the release to be this big, loud, cinematic moment in our lives. Like some dramatic turning point where the skies part and birds sing and everything changes instantly. But the truth, letting go usually doesn't look like that. It's rarely fireworks or grand declarations. More often, it's going to be quiet. It's going to be subtle. It's going to be a choice that you made in silence. Maybe even when no one else is watching. Most likely when no one else was watching. And listen, here's the thing. I blame early 2000s movies and our media for messing with our expectations. We grew up on Anne Hathaway and Devil Wears Prada getting a makeover and suddenly becoming the best assistant New York has ever seen. We saw Reese Witherspoon channeling full "I'll show you" energy in Legally Blonde after getting dumped. Miley Cyrus was out there swinging on literal wrecking balls during her post-Disney transformation era. And then Beyonce dropped a visual, emotional, and cultural masterclass in Release that was Lemonade. So yeah, it makes sense that we internalize the idea that Release should be dramatic and loud and head-turning, something you could have a soundtrack with a Kelly Clarkson ballad happening in the background. But in real life, it's usually not like that. It's soft, it's intentional, it's unseen. It's choosing not to respond to a text from someone that you used to chase. It's deleting old photos quietly, no announcement, no drama. It's saying no to something that used to feel like an automatic yes. It's wearing the outfit you used to feel too self-conscious for. It's canceling plans and not explaining why. It's taking a different route home just because you're tired of the same old story. It's unfollowing someone who makes you feel small without guilt. It's closing the tab on something you thought you wanted, but now you don't. These are the small, brave choices that create big shifts over time. And we have to let go of the fantasy that healing will always come with some dramatic moment of closure. Sometimes release is just a whisper of, I'm done. Sometimes it's just a deep breath and the tiniest bit of space. So let's normalize the quiet. Let's normalize and celebrate the micro moments that we each individually have. Let's remember that release doesn't need to be seen to be powerful. So how do we actually, though, begin to release what's weighing us down? We've talked about emotional clutter and the myth of dramatic healing, but what does it really look like to let go in your day-to-day life? Not just in theory, but in actual practice. Well, here are a few gentle rituals that I personally love, and these are things that have helped me create space, feel lighter, and reconnect with myself. The first one off the bat is journaling. You knew it was going to be journaling if you're a long-time listener. Start by asking yourself, what am I holding on to that no longer feels like mine? What belief is keeping me small? Who am I without this burden? You don't need perfect answers, just honesty. Write freely without judgment. You might be surprised as to what comes up. And just remember, no one's going to read your journal. And if they do, that's a them problem, not a you problem, because that is your private thoughts. So if you write something about someone and then they read it, that's not a you issue. So let go of that. The second is visualization. I want you to close your eyes and picture yourself holding a box. In it are the things you're ready to release: guilt, expectations, fear, that limiting belief about not being enough. Imagine sealing that box shut and walking away from it. Maybe you place it on a shelf, buried in the sand. Maybe you burn that bitch. Whatever it is that you choose to do, let it go energetically, spiritually, symbolically. And honestly, if you are somebody who is more of a physical, tangible person, I would super highly recommend writing on Post-its and tearing them up and then throwing them away. There is something so satisfying about taking a Post-it that has something on it that you no longer want to hold on to and just that was so satisfying. I don't even know what was on that Post-it. I hope it wasn't important, but it doesn't matter because I've let it go. And that's what's so great about it. It's just even that little moment. I'm like, I feel good. I feel happy. I feel lighter. The next thing is rearranging your space. I've recently done this. Slightly rearranged. I reorganized my plants in my background here on YouTube. You can see the plants have been rechanged if you go back and look at other videos. But sometimes releasing something emotionally starts with releasing something physically, like the Post-it example that I just gave. Donate that dress that you wore during a hard season. Toss the candle that reminds you of someone that you no longer speak to. Get rid of that gift that one person got you that you don't want anymore or don't want the reminder of them in your space anymore. Rearranging your space is a way of saying, I'm making room for who I'm becoming. And if you need to do this, do it. Plan a whole day of it. Let go of the things that physically remind you of the seasons of life that you no longer want to be reminded of, and let go of the things that someone gave you that you no longer want anymore. It's okay. They're not going to know. You can release that guilt with it. Another one is reconnecting with nature, or just connecting with nature in general. Going for a walk and letting the wind carry something away, letting the rain cleanse it from your body, insert Lizzie McGuire's sound here. Let the water in the shower wash it down the drain. There's something powerful about releasing something with the help of the natural world. You have never truly had a good cry until you have been in a downpour and you are just sobbing. And it doesn't matter because nature is taking it away. It is one of my favorite ways to cry at this moment. Like, it is so cleansing to do it. I am not a person that cries very often, but when I do, I feel so good, especially after a rainstorm. I'll be walking my dogs and it just like starts downpouring on me. And I'm like, all right, what do we need to bring up? What are we trying to release? And this is I don't know how this is gonna sound, but it's like letting the earth hold your grief and help you move forward. And here's the thing. Remember, these rituals, they don't have to be perfect. None of those that I said were perfect. They just have to be intentional. Release doesn't need to be this loud thing. It just needs to be real. Sometimes the softest rituals are going to be the ones that stick. And I want to share a little moment with you, a moment that to anyone else probably looked like nothing, but to me, it felt like everything. A couple years ago, I remember sitting in my new apartment, this one that I'm sitting in right now, and it was right after my separation. I didn't have much furniture yet. I barely had enough money to have moved into this place. I had an office chair, a TV, and a streaming account. I was watching a movie. Honestly, it was probably Lion King. It was something comforting, something familiar. And all of a sudden, a song came on my phone. I don't know why, but somehow Spotify started connecting. I think I was messing around with the Wi-Fi or something like that. And all of a sudden, Spotify turned on my phone and it started playing the song. And I just got up and I started dancing. I danced in my living room alone in my pajamas. I had no plans, no one was watching, and if they were, I didn't care. Because for the first time, I had done something that I wanted to do. Not just dancing to pass the time or for someone else's amusement or at a party. I didn't care if the neighbors heard my music. I didn't wonder if I was being annoying or disruptive or immature. There was no one there to tiptoe around. No one's mood to manage, no weight of someone else's opinion pressing down on my joy. And in that moment, I realized something. I was free. Free to move, free to be loud, free to be silly or soft or quiet or bold. I was free to take up space in my own life, fully, unapologetic. That was the moment I started to understand what release really felt like. It wasn't loud or dramatic. It was pretty silly. It was bad dancing. And it didn't come with any grand announcement. It was just me reclaiming joy in the simplest way possible. So if you're waiting for permission, let this be it. You don't have to wait for the big sign or the perfect moment. You just have to choose yourself. Even if it's in a quiet, unexpected moment in your living room, dancing with no one but you. And from that place, from that little silliness, that freedom, I want to share an affirmation with you that I repeat to myself probably weekly at this point. I release what no longer serves me and make space for what lights me up. If it feels good to do so, close your eyes for a moment. Take a deep breath in through your nose and a slow breath out through your mouth. Let those words really settle into your heart. I release what no longer serves me, and I make space for what lights me up. And let's just go ahead and sit in that for a little bit together. Because sometimes we need that reminder that we get to have our lives, that we get to take up space, that we get to have our joy and not let it be tarnished by somebody else. And whatever you're doing, I promise you, you're doing such powerful work that you are going to have such great results so soon. I want to gently remind you that you don't have to get this right the first time. Letting go, it takes courage, it takes practice, and sometimes it takes trying and trying and trying again and trying again and again. But here's your small but powerful challenge for this week. Pick one thing to release, big or small. Maybe it's self-doubt you've been carrying. Maybe it's a routine that you've outgrown. Maybe it's a belief that no longer aligns with the version of you that you're becoming. Let it go. And then pay attention to what flows in afterward. That new energy, that peace, that spark. It's all part of the process. And if this episode sparked something for you, I'd love to hear from you. Feel free to DM me on Instagram or TikTok and let me know, because we heal in community too. You don't need a 5-step plan. You just need a moment of courage. That's how the shift is going to begin. Next week, I will actually be taking some much needed time off after my vacation from podcasting for just a little bit, probably looking at only 1 to 2 weeks because I love yapping into my microphone. But this is just to rest and refill my creativity cup. So if you need a sign to slow down and honor your energy, this is it. I'll be back soon with fresh episodes and even deeper conversations, because I do have a couple ideas already that I'm very excited for. And in the meantime, I'd be so grateful if you took a moment to rate, review, or share this episode with someone that you love. It's one of the best ways to help me and help the podcast grow and help more people feel seen, supported, and empowered. And I'm going to leave you with this final note. You deserve a life that lights you up, and you were allowed to make space for it. And I am so proud of you for doing that work. Until next time, take up space and take care of you. Kisses.